Howdy, and welcome back. Or should I say, welcome to. I'm Steven, and this is FWP Reviews. This is the new home for my videos. I hope to continue to add things, add decorations, and add soundproofing to improve the quality and up the production throughout the next couple of weeks. But today's video is about something that we can all agree on, that we can't always agree. The logical following to this is a series where I say my opinion that differs from the general consensus on a movie. Thus, FWP Unpopular Opinions was born. Today is part 2 to this series, and I'm going to share my thoughts on the completely trashed-on YA book to YA movie, Paper Towns. A quiet and shy kid, Quentin, spends his day pining over longtime crush and neighbor Margot Roth Spiegelman, coincidentally also the most popular girl in school. Badass name though, right? Margot recruits Quentin to help her prank her friends who have betrayed her. They seem to bond over a night of mischief and John Greenisms. The following day, Margot is nowhere to be found, barring a few cryptic clues. Quentin and his friends decide that they need to follow the clues to make sure that Margot is okay, and thus a classic YA movie is born. The goal of these videos is not me trying to beat you over the head and change your mind, but more to give you my perspective, because what more is this channel than me just giving my perspective on various movies? The best way I've found to start this is to address the controversies the movie has. To begin, I just want to say that I am so sorry. Wait, not that kind of controversy. At a whopping 58% on Rotten Tomatoes and 2.5 out of 5 stars on Letterboxd, this is not the most hated movie in the series. I got that out of the way early with Batman v Superman. Lincoln Corner. This doesn't mean the movie is without its hate, because I see tons of hate for it all over the place. For reference, I would rate this movie a 4 out of 5, an 8 out of 10, or an 80% for the weirdos out there. Most of the complaints I see about this movie are the bizarre and unrealistic dialogue that stem a lot from John Green's book. John Green is a staple in the YA romance and YA tragedy genres. His writing style is well known for many things. Some of them are good things, such as his interesting characters and concepts, as well as certain mystery elements in a lot of his stories. The others are not seen as so good. Weird character interactions, the power of coincidence, and just outlandish situations. As a fan, I for one think that the good outweighs the bad in this movie. The movie is very clever and it keeps you hooked. It is about more than meets the eye. It's not just plain old movie guy gets girl, girl gets guy story. It subverts the expectations by not giving this final and perfect resolution in the way you might expect. It is very clever in that regard. I do think that a lot of people find this movie goofier than it needed to be. I, for one, in a movie sort of way, think that this kind of made the characters more charismatic and more realistic. The group of friends that we see most of this movie center around can actually genuinely feel like a group of friends at times because of this. The absurdities they participate in can often reflect memories of my own that I have participated in. Not all of it is so far-fetched and romanticized beyond belief. I mean, who hasn't made a sword out of beer cans? A lot of the complaints around this movie also center around how quirky and edgy it is. Anybody who sees this movie as edgy has never experienced anything in their life, including but not limited to chicken breast with spice on it. This is edgy. This is quirky. This is edgy and quirky. Here is a helpful Venn diagram to help with that. There you go. Now we know. Now that we've cleared that up, the edge in this movie is completely lacking, but the characters can give off a certain air of quirkiness. I've maintained that movies can make exaggerations of characters work for specific scenarios. I found that these characters felt like an intentional exaggeration that worked well for me. This can put a lot of people off, but I really think it drew me in more, especially seeing as none of the characters were too outlandish. I think it's fair to say that I love this movie, or otherwise I wouldn't be making a whole video about why everybody else got it so wrong. The YA genre in general is something that works really well for me. There's something charming and endearing about the romanticization of the everyday. It shows what's possible when you slow down and look around. There's more to life than... Wait a minute, you almost had me sounding like John Green there. This movie's cast is pretty good, but I don't think that any of the individuals are really standouts for this movie, but I think that the group of friends and how all of that actors and actresses play off of each other is extremely effective. All it takes me to think about this is all of the fun moments, including the gas station stop, the Pokemon theme song, and the party. And yet it's not all fun moments, there are a lot of slower and more serious moments. There's a lot of depth, and this friend group feels lived in, even though we're only shortly introduced to it. It was always exciting to see what they were up to or what they were planning to do during this absurd, absolutely bonkers road trip. Speaking of the road trip, how did they just leave for 2 days? My mom would have killed me. No questions asked. I think the soft pop was an excellent addition, albeit cliche, to this already cliche movie. Yet it's not that cliche. Bear with me. To harken back to the romanticization of suburbia, I say why not romanticize suburbia a little bit? What's wrong with that? I've lived in it all my life, and there's something so whimsical and great about this sort of small town neighborly living. It's almost impossible to put your finger on, but the networking and connections and all the friends you make can feel so genuine at times. Of course, suburbia has its drawbacks, but since when was a movie not allowed to romanticize something that was at least a little bit bearable? I've had sweeping adventures in my time in high school. I never went to New York for 2 days without telling my mom, though. Seriously, how did they get away with this? The subversion of expectation is far and above the most defining characteristic of this movie. This movie does cleverly bait you into thinking that this is a movie about the guy getting the girl. This is reinforced by a lot of John Green's typical writing and narrative styles. When it is revealed in the end that this movie is really about friendships and not putting people on a pedestal, the best YA ending in movie history pays off in dividends. There are no Doge dividends, but they're dividends nonetheless. The central themes are present and important throughout, and the second viewing really helps to reinforce these ideas. It's made abundantly clear how just absurd these leaps are he and his friends make to think we need to go find this girl using these cryptic ass clues. Certainly rings a little similar to a certain anecdote. Maybe later though. The central themes regarding putting people on a pedestal rings and resonates extremely well. It's a good reminder that your thoughts can get blurry and distorted when you don't really know a person as well as you think you do. It's always important to keep that in mind. In the end, this movie ends with heartbreak, but it ultimately is about hope for the future and friendships. As cheesy as that is, it works really well for me. The subversion of expectations really helps make this movie pay off for the viewer. The cast works really well to demonstrate this kind of established friend group despite some exaggerated character traits. To sum it up, Paper Towns is heavily underrated and perhaps one of my favorite YA movies of the recent era. With that, we come to the end of another video. The next 2 weeks, I have a couple special episodes planned. It's going to be a 2-part Michael Mann May movie special. Now that's a lot of M's. Next week will be a video about one of the best crime saga movies ever made, Heat. The following week we will be looking at the absolute movie and a half that is Collateral. Until then, follow my Instagram at FWP Reviews 100 for daily written reviews about the newest movies. With that, this is FWP Reviews signing off. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one.